let's get into the second segment. Bold prediction, and I tweeted this out within the last week, and I said bold prediction: the Ravens trade Orlando Brown Jr. That's not that bold. They get a higher pick. Maybe it's with the Chargers. They have pick 13. They select a cornerback with their first pick. Now, I believe the cornerback would be either Jaycee Horn or Asante Samuel Jr. But Joshua, what are your thoughts on this bold prediction? Because I think it's relatively possible. Obviously, it's very bold. But what would your thoughts be if the Ravens did that?
But so that's the thing. I mean, I like it for the simple fact we've been talking about it. Like, we really don't want another safety unless, you know, if Malik Hooker hasn't been signed already.
He has not. He's still available, but injury prone.
Hey, if we can, if he stays healthy for us for 16, 17 games, I like it. But I always said the way Wink Martindale runs his defense, a corner would do us right. Not adding another safety. Where we hurt is corner depth. You know what I mean? Look at it. We have the best nickelback that played maybe 2 years. The next thing you know, he starts getting paid. He gets hurt back to back, and it hurts my heart because he's just hitting his prime. You have another one that's been there for the longest, one of the longest tenured guys on the team still with him. Yeah, him, Justin Tucker. Yeah.
He's up there. I mean, he may be the longest tenured defensive player. Jimmy Smith and probably Brandon Williams are the two guys.
Yeah. You know, you found a good guy from Colorado, University of Colorado State. Back then he was physical. He'd get you some interceptions, and he can stick with the best of them. He has good ball skills. He know how to make the pass deflections, but also another one that has been hurt. So, if I'm EDC, let's go ahead. Let's make a trade. Let's make a trade for Orlando Brown Jr. Let's get a higher pick. Maybe add another second-round pick too to this year's draft. And let's go ahead. Let's make that call. Jaycee Horn, are you ready to be the number one corner on the Baltimore Ravens defense?
Yeah, I think a lot of Ravens fans may hear this and they think we're insane. Because obviously the Ravens already have two. They have two number one corners already. But you look at there isn't the pass rushing group in this defense. I'm a big believer in building the defense through the front seven, but the pass rushers, there's no Chase Young, there's no Joey Bosa, there's no Nick Bosa. Ohio State does not have a good pass rusher coming out. Basically, that's what we learned. If you're an Ohio State pass rusher, you're gonna be an awesome pass rusher in the NFL based on the last 3-4 seasons. But yeah, the guys are like, okay, there's Paye who's like kind of. He's solid, but he doesn't have a ton of upside. There's guys with upside, but at the same time, they aren't guys where they're like, oh, they could, like Rousseau is like upside, but at the same time, like has no pass rush moves or whatever. So there's a lot of variability. But the corner group is where there's a lot of great talent. There's 4 great corners in this draft: Patrick Surtain, Caleb Farley, Jaycee Horn, Asante Samuel Jr. And I think Surtain will go first. I think Farley could go second, but maybe somebody else goes before him. But they'll probably be getting drafted in the 7 to 15 range, and that's where the Ravens could trade up to into 13. Mm-hmm. And I think Jaycee Horn would just make sense for the Ravens to do if they were to trade up for 13. Like, I'd rather have them be traded up for 13 than take Devontae Smith, who's a smaller wide receiver who's not very fast. I'd rather do that than take Paye. If they trade up, like, there isn't really an insane wide receiver they'd be able to draft, because unless Jamar Chase somehow was to fall to pick number 13, which he absolutely will not, I can guarantee he will not be available at 13. The Ravens should, if they trade and they're at 13, either trade back or draft a corner. And Jaycee Horn is 6'1". He is a physical, man-to-man, athletic corner. The Ravens run a lot of man-to-man. That's pretty much all they run. So having a physical guy would be very beneficial. And if anybody listened or watched our segment on the safety conversation about whether the Ravens should go after a safety, Joshua, you and I, and you brought it up, just a minute ago, was that it was like, hey, maybe add a corner, because that would allow a Jimmy Smith to start playing at the safety position and still be playing man-to-man, but just be lining up in a slightly different spot, because putting Deshaun Elliott in man coverage against, sometimes Deshaun Elliott gets lined up in man coverage against a slot wide receiver. And it's like, no, that doesn't work. So if we drafted Jaycee Horn, Marlon Humphrey could go to the slot, and he would play the slot like he did last year. He played very well out of the slot. And then all of a sudden we would have 3 number 1 corners. And you look at it would be very similar to when the Ravens drafted Marlon Humphrey. When they drafted Marlon Humphrey, Jimmy Smith was the guy. They also had the guy out of the guy from Dallas. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I don't know why. It was a decent corner. I cannot remember his name, but like Marlon Humphrey was like clearly the number 1 guy, even in his rookie year. And I remember the Pittsburgh Steelers game where it was Marlon's rookie year, the Immaculate Extension, the stupidest nickname for any move. And I remember complaining that entire game, why is Antonio Brown being covered by whatever the guy from Dallas's name was? I cannot remember his name, and it's really frustrating me. And also Jimmy Smith, when Marlon Humphrey was doing a very good job on Antonio Brown, and Antonio Brown ended up winning the game for the Steelers because the Ravens were going one-on-one with not Marlon Humphrey. Well, Marlon Humphrey was a very well-developed corner. The Ravens could do that with Jaycee Horn. They can develop corners. This is one of the positions they can develop. Yeah. You draft a high potential guy, and all of a sudden, you've got 3 cornerbacks that are elite. That would be scary. That would be very scary. So at least if they don't have a pass rusher, they will have 3 elite press man corners that are physical, that can all, take away the football. And I just think that it's a very interesting, very unique take, but that's kind of the Jaycee Horn side. But then the Asante Samuel Jr. side, Asante Samuel Jr. is another man-to-man corner, but he projects to be more of a nickel corner because he's a bit smaller. So you could have, we drafted a nickel corner, but now we can just move Marlon back to the outside, where he's shown he can also be a very good outside corner as well. So either of them work really well for the Ravens. They're both good man-to-man corners. They can both, really do what the Ravens need in their defense, because it's unfortunate that there aren't any really good edge rushers in this draft that are like, they could go like 10th. Like the draft is just, quarterback heavy. It's wide receiver heavy. The edge rusher, it's like mid-tier edge rusher heavy. There's a lot of guys that are late first round, second round picks that are going to be good.
Big guys.
But not anybody that's a top 15, whereas there's like 4 top 15 corners, and they could fit with the Ravens scheme, and they could be really dominant. But like, I don't know. I like the idea, but at the same time, if we didn't get a wide receiver or an offensive lineman or an edge rusher out of Orlando Brown, we would need to sign somebody in free agency. Like we would need Justin Houston or Clowney or Alden Smith or all 3 of them, because we would not have an edge rusher. And that's so scary. But if the Ravens wanted to go full send without an edge rusher, trade and take a heavy man-to-man corner in the draft, whether it's Jaycee Horn or Asante Samuel Jr. But you got anything else you want to say on either of those guys?
Asante Samuel Jr., I definitely liked him. I definitely watched a couple of Florida State University games where he definitely showed himself out, and he's earning his keep. He's not playing off his father's name. He's just out there. He's playing good football. Definitely, if we was to bring him back, if we was to draft him and put him in the nickel, like you said, Makana, it will definitely help us out as far as depth. You can put Marlon Humphrey back on the best wide receivers. Marcus Peters, yes, he's a gambling man. I'll hate to go on a trip to Vegas with him, because I don't know if I'm gonna win a lot of money or lose a lot of money. But still, he can get the job done. But I'm really sold on the Jaycee Horn for the simple fact that 6'1", physical. He can stick with the best. He played against the best. That's going to end this draft. And also, guys, he comes up in tackle as well. So,
yep.
Like with that being said, man, it adding another corner helps us out because if you guys watched last season when we was starting to hurt, I don't know I forgot who we signed, but I think his last name started with a D, Desir, or something like that of that nature.
Desir.
Yeah, he didn't do us no justice. The guy you keep on mentioning that we brought in from Dallas, I think he had like the most consecutive playing games, but every time he got in there, if you did an out route, it was always a touchdown on him. Because I kept on trying to think who it was, but I know he was one of those guys you put down the field. Oh,
Brandon Carr. I had to look it up. I was dying inside. I had to look it up. Brandon Carr.
Thank you. Every time he got on the field, oh yeah, it's an out route going his way. He's not going to cut the man off. It's a touchdown. It's a first down on him all the time.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, in a spec Anthony Averett to get more playing time come next year. He showed out. He balled out last year. So I mean, like I said, adding Jaycee Horn, putting Marlon Humphrey, and giving Jimmy Smith and Tavon Young some time there to roam at the free safety position. Had Chuck Clark play down as an outside linebacker for a containment or a blitzer, and having Deshaun Elliott play the strong safety. Wink, I'm not trying to take your job. I'm just learning from you from watching the games, man. I see the creativity you're doing. I just want to help you out.
Yeah. And another thing that I thought about would be the speed advantage. You think about who the Ravens have at corner right now. Jimmy Smith is no longer that fast.
Mm-hmm.
He's a bit slow. Tavon Young coming off of, he's had multiple leg injuries, I believe, where his injuries not going to be as fast.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, if you've got four corners, Marlon Humphrey, you've got Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey's very fast. Marcus Peters has good speed. Anthony Averett runs 4.3. And then you added Jaycee Horn, who ran, I believe, 4.39. Boom. That is a respectable combination where they could actually play man, because the Ravens love to, slide guys, left, they slide them right, cover this guy this play. And all of a sudden you see half the time where it's like, why is this guy and this guy? He can't, Jimmy Smith can't run with Tyreek Hill. Why is he covering him? Well, all of a sudden it would be a situation where it's like, okay, at least they won't get absolutely toasted over the top. Like there would be no player at cornerback that would be able to get, just completely burned. They could be beat off the line, but they won't just get, completely toasted. And that's just another benefit because the Ravens are, they gamble so much on defense.
Yeah.
Having extra speed always helps. So I think I'm on board for this. If the Ravens traded up to 13 and if they, if they're sitting there at 13 and if there is, if the board has Jaycee Horn, it's got Asante Samuel Jr. It's got no, it doesn't have Jamar Chase. It has Quiddy. It has all the pass rushers, Paye, Rousseau. It's got Devontae Smith and it's got Jalen Waddle. I'm taking Jaycee Horn. And then my number two may be a pass rusher. But I would say Jaycee Horn would be that guy. Like I really want Jaycee Horn to put Marlon in the slot. That would be my guy. But if you had to pick, Joshua, which one would you want?
Ooh, man, if you move me up to the teams, I'm definitely going with Jaycee Horn. And we still kept are we drafted at 27?
Yeah, we're at 27, yeah.
I'm drafted at 27, depending on how everything looking. And if we get another second round pick, I may go for that. I may go for the offensive lineman.
Yeah. There's a few guys, offensive linemen, that we could go. But I think that's going to do it for this segment. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe to TTB Ravens Media on YouTube for daily Ravens content. But also, if you're watching this on YouTube, go check out the podcast to see the other platforms, or you can wait for the segments to all get posted. That's going to do it for this segment. If you're listening on the podcast, don't worry. We're going to keep going.